Stay home. Everyone's avoiding travel due to the severe ice storm. Christmas dinner is canceled. This was my mother's message that Christmas morning. I stared at my phone, disappointed but understanding. Winter in Nashville can be treacherous. Little did I realize this simple text would unravel a lifetime of family deception and completely transform my existence. I'm Eliza, 34, a financial analyst who always thought I was just the awkward, career-focused sister who never quite belonged in my family's boisterous gatherings. My younger sister Sophia was the golden child, perpetually perfect in our parents' vision. That Christmas morning, I resigned myself to solitude. I prepared some hot chocolate, queued up holiday films, and tried to remain positive despite the hollow feeling in my chest. Around mid-afternoon, while browsing through Instagram, my heart froze. There it was, a fresh post from my cousin. Annual family Christmas at Sophia's. Blessed with everyone together. Hashtag family traditions, hashtag Christmas dinner. The photo displayed my entire family, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, even my elderly grandmother, surrounding Sophia's lavish dining table. Everyone wore festive attire, laughing and celebrating the holiday they had deliberately excluded me from. Through the windows in their photos, I could see clear, sunny skies. There was no ice storm. There never had been. My hands trembled as I scrolled through more images. Dad carving the turkey. Mom arranging her signature holiday cookies. My nieces and nephews tearing open presents. The dangerous weather was a complete fabrication, a convenient excuse to avoid telling me I wasn't welcome at their perfect family celebration. Nausea overwhelmed me as reality sank in. All those supposedly canceled events, all those gatherings I somehow missed, how many had actually occurred without me? How long had they been coordinating behind my back while pretending to care? The following morning, my phone rang. It was my mother, acting completely normal, saying she hoped I enjoyed my quiet Christmas and that they really missed me. The casual cruelty of her words made my fists clench. This would be the moment everything changed, though I couldn't have known it then. Throughout my life, I'd strive to be the perfect daughter. I maintained excellent grades, helped with household responsibilities, and even abandoned my dream of studying business administration abroad to pursue finance locally because my parents insisted it was more practical. Meanwhile, Sophia could pursue whatever whim struck her. When she abandoned university to become a wellness coach, my parents called her brave. When I worked overtime to help them refinance their mortgage, they barely acknowledged it. I recall one telling incident from 3 years ago. When my father needed surgery, I took 3 weeks of unpaid leave to care for him. I managed his medications, drove him to appointments, handled the household, everything. Sophia appeared once, stayed for an hour taking photos with him for her social media, then departed claiming she had a wellness retreat to attend. Yet somehow in my parents' retelling, Sophia was the devoted daughter while I was merely fulfilling basic obligations. My extended family wasn't much better. At every gathering, my aunts would praise Sophia's free spirit, while questioning when I would learn to enjoy life. My professional achievements were dismissed as mundane, while Sophia's latest endeavor teaching mindfulness in Thailand became the centerpiece of every family discussion. I continued telling myself it didn't matter, that family was family, and they loved me in their way. Even last month, I spent hours helping my mother prepare for Thanksgiving, only to hear her tell everyone that Sophia had done all the work while I just watched. I swallowed my hurt and remained silent, as always. When Sophia announced she'd host Christmas this year, I offered to assist with planning and preparation. She dismissed me, saying she wanted everything perfect. I should have recognized the warning signs, but I was still desperately clinging to the illusion of our happy family. The truth is, I've dedicated my entire existence trying to earn their approval, making excuses for their behavior, and pretending not to notice when they excluded me from spontaneous family gatherings that everyone else somehow knew about. I convinced myself that with enough effort and sacrifice, they would finally see me as worthy of inclusion in their perfect family portrait. During that phone call with my mother the day after Christmas, I confronted her about the Instagram photos showing everyone at Sophia's house, while I'd been told to stay home due to an ice storm. Her stammering response revealed the truth. They had deliberately excluded me because they thought I made gatherings uncomfortable. When I pressed about how many other times they had lied to me, Her defensive reaction and suggestion that we give each other space until I could be reasonable was the final confirmation. Sitting there after the call ended, 34 years of memories suddenly shifted into painful clarity. Every excuse, every dismissal, every misunderstanding, it had all been deliberate. I wasn't the problem. I never had been. That was the moment I stopped making excuses for them. The moment I finally saw the truth. I didn't have a family. I had people who shared my DNA but treated me as an afterthought. After that call, something within me broke. I was finished being the family doormat. I opened my laptop and drafted an email to my entire family: parents, sister, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who attended that Christmas dinner. My fingers flew across the keyboard as years of suppressed feelings poured out. I told them I had seen the photos from the Christmas dinner I was told was canceled due to an imaginary ice storm. I wanted them all to understand exactly what they had done, not just excluding me from a family gathering, but orchestrating an elaborate deception to make me spend Christmas alone. I attached screenshots of my mother's stay-home messages alongside the social media photos documenting their celebration, then hit send before I could reconsider. The responses flooded in immediately. My aunt claimed they forgot to tell me plans had changed. My uncle suggested I was overreacting. My cousin who posted the photos quickly deleted them and messaged that I was causing unnecessary drama. Sophia sent a lengthy, condescending email about how I never participate properly at family events and how she just wanted one perfect holiday. She even suggested that excluding me was for my own benefit because I obviously don't enjoy family gatherings. My parents' reaction truly revealed their character. Instead of apologizing, they went on the offensive. My mother began calling mutual family friends, spinning a narrative about me having some kind of breakdown. My father sent a stern email about respecting family privacy and how airing our dirty laundry was unacceptable. Sophia texted to tell me that mom was crying. Everyone was upset, and it was all because I couldn't just accept that maybe I was the problem. This was exactly why they didn't want me at Christmas. I felt like I was experiencing an alternate reality. They had deliberately excluded and deceived me, yet somehow I was the villain for exposing their behavior. The more I defended myself, the more they twisted the narrative. When I refused to back down and apologize, they escalated their tactics. My mother began appearing at my workplace unannounced, creating scenes in the lobby. Sophia started posting vague social media updates about toxic people and choosing peace over family. My father threatened to remove me from his will if I didn't get in line. Instead of intimidating me, their actions only confirmed what I had finally realized. This wasn't a loving family protecting itself from a difficult member. This was a toxic system desperately trying to maintain control over someone who had finally stopped playing by their rules. I decided then that I needed to do more than just expose their lies. I needed to completely break free from their manipulation. Little did they know I was already forming a plan that would show them exactly what happens when you push away the one person who had always been there for them. A week after my confrontational email, I received an unexpected message from Victoria, an old family friend who had managed my parents' finances years ago. She had seen what was happening with my family and said there was something I needed to know. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe downtown. When I arrived, Victoria looked anxious, clutching a manila envelope. She told me she'd been carrying this guilt for years. My father had sworn her to secrecy, but after seeing how they were treating me, she couldn't remain silent anymore. Inside the envelope were bank statements and legal documents dating back 15 years. As I reviewed them, my hands began to shake. According to these records, my grandfather had left a substantial inheritance specifically for my education and future, nearly $350,000, money I never knew existed. Victoria explained quietly that my father was the trustee, supposed to grant me access when I turned 25. Instead, he had transferred everything to Sophia's accounts, using it to fund her lifestyle and failed business ventures. The revelation hit me physically. All those years working overtime to pay for my finance degree, the student loans I was still repaying, the times I'd helped them with their mortgage, they had been sitting on my inheritance the entire time, spending it on Sophia. There was more. Victoria revealed that my grandfather had also left properties meant to be divided equally between Sophia and me. My parents had sold them all using a power of attorney they had me sign when I was 18. The document, they said, was for emergency medical decisions. I felt nauseated realizing the document I trustingly signed had given them complete control over my financial interests. They had systematically stolen my inheritance while watching me struggle, accepting my assistance with their expenses, and making me feel guilty for not contributing enough. Even worse, the statements showed regular transfers to Sophia labeled as business investments, money taken from my inheritance to fund her wellness studios, her retreats in Thailand. All those adventures they'd praised her for while criticizing my boring finance career. When I asked Victoria why she was telling me now, she explained that she had seen my mother's social media posts painting me as unstable and ungrateful. They were trying to discredit me before I could discover the truth. They had been embezzling from me for years, and what they had done wasn't just morally wrong, it was illegal. Everything suddenly made horrible sense. Their escalating attempts to paint me as unreasonable, the threats to remove me from a will when they'd already stolen my inheritance, their desperate need to maintain the narrative that Sophia was the successful sister while I was the difficult one. I carefully returned the documents to the envelope, my mind racing with the realization of what I needed to do next. This wasn't just about a ruined Christmas anymore. This was about years of calculated deception and theft. And I, a financial analyst with expertise in tracking fraud, was uniquely qualified to make them face consequences. With Victoria's documentation, I spent the next week meticulously building my case. As a finance professional, I knew exactly how to trace the money trail. Every unauthorized transfer, every misused power of attorney, every fraudulent document. I tracked it all and also retained Jessica Chun, an attorney specializing in estate fraud, to review everything. She confirmed this was a clear-cut case of financial exploitation and that we could file criminal charges if that was the route I wanted to pursue. I considered my options carefully. A criminal case would destroy my family's reputation, but they had already destroyed our relationship. Still, I decided to give them one final opportunity to make amends by requesting a family meeting to resolve our differences. They eagerly accepted, likely thinking they could manipulate me back into compliance. On the morning of our meeting at my apartment, I arranged 3 folders on my dining table, one for each of them. Inside each folder was a complete record of their fraud, along with a letter from my attorney outlining their options: either return all remaining funds and sign a confession or face criminal charges. When they arrived looking confident, I immediately cut off their attempt at controlling the narrative by sliding the folders across the table and suggesting they read the contents before speaking. The color drained from my father's face as he examined the documents. Sophia's hands started trembling. My mother attempted to maintain control by accusing me of trying to blackmail my own family. I calmly explained this wasn't blackmail, it was a choice. Return my inheritance with interest and admit what they did, or I would let the authorities handle it. When my father tried to blame Victoria for betraying their confidence, I interrupted to remind him that he had no right to steal from me for years while watching me struggle, to use my power of attorney to sell property that was rightfully mine, to fund Sophia's lifestyle with my inheritance. When Sophia burst into tears claiming ignorance, I calmly pointed out that the transfers went directly to her accounts. She knew exactly what she was doing. My mother tried appealing to family reputation, asking what people would say. I reminded her she should have considered that before stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from her own daughter. I gave them 48 hours to decide, sign the confession, and arrange the transfers, or I would go to the police. They left in panic, and within hours, the family group chat exploded with messages from relatives taking their side. But I remained calm. I had truth and evidence supporting me. I was prepared for whatever came next. After all, they had already given me the greatest gift: freedom from their manipulation. As expected, the 48-hour deadline passed without response. My family chose pride over honesty. They didn't sign the confession or arrange any transfers. Instead, they attempted to destroy evidence, closing accounts, shredding documents, even trying to pressure Victoria into retracting her statement. What they didn't realize was that I had already submitted everything to the authorities. The morning after the deadline, I formally filed charges. By afternoon, police were at their doors with search warrants. From my office, I watched the story unfold. My father was escorted from his workplace in handcuffs. Sophia's wellness studio was seized as an asset purchased with stolen funds. My mother's carefully cultivated social media facade crumbled as she was arrested during one of her charity committee meetings. The family group chat exploded again, but with a different tone. Relatives who had dismissed my claims suddenly went silent as evidence became public record. The local newspaper ran a story about the prominent family's fall from grace. All their years maintaining perfect appearances ended in a single day. Victoria messaged me to say I had done the right thing and that my grandfather would be proud. She was right. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice. 1 year later, I sat in my new home in Denver, watching snow fall outside my window. The court case had concluded months ago. My parents both accepted plea deals agreeing to pay restitution. Sophia's wellness empire had collapsed, and she'd finally obtained legitimate employment as an office assistant. The perfect family image they'd worked so hard to maintain was gone forever. Most relatives who had enabled their behavior stopped speaking to me, but surprisingly, I didn't miss them. Instead, I had built a new support system. Genuine friends who valued honesty over appearances, colleagues who respected my work ethic, and even a few distant cousins who reached out to apologize for their past behavior. Victoria visited me last week. Over coffee, she handed me an old photo album she'd discovered while organizing her office. Inside were pictures of my grandfather and me, moments I'd almost forgotten. In one photo, he was teaching me to fish, both of us laughing at something long forgotten. Victoria told me he always said I was the strong one. He knew they favored Sophia, but he believed I would overcome it. I touched the photo gently, remembering his kind smile. He had tried to protect my future through that inheritance. And though it had taken years, his final gift had ultimately provided something more valuable than money: the courage to stand up for myself and the freedom to build a life on my own terms. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting free.